everybody, welcome back to the kitchen. Today you're going to be joining me in doing some projects in the kitchen from our garden harvest. We have been getting cucumbers in, as you can see. I wanted to show you the difference between these two because I'm growing all pickling cucumbers. This one got too big. It was kind of hidden behind some leaves and you can see it's yellowing. This is closer to the size and the color that what you want. But this one we can still use. We're just going to use it for fresh eating, cut it up and put it in salads and enjoy it that way. So I'm going to stick it in the fridge. And as you can see, I've got a bunch of other cucumbers that I've gotten off of my vines that I need to wash up and slice with my mandolin and make into some pickles in the fridge. So let's get started on cleaning these up. The recipe for these easy dill pickles with no canning required comes from Old World Garden Farms website. For this recipe, I'm going to be using some fresh dill from the garden, some of our garlic that I had in the freezer, and then once I'm done slicing, we're going to go over and make the brine. For these cucumbers, what we're going to do is slice off the flower end. As you can see, this is the stem end, so this is the flower end. I think when our heat wave hit, some of my cucumbers either got kind of misshapen or didn't get pollinated fully. The bees probably were hanging out and staying cooler. Because I have some that are like this, but that's okay. I'm just gonna cut that part off and they'll be just fine. It's almost like it didn't get fully pollinated or something, or the heat just, I'm not sure. This is my best year for making cucumbers. Usually I don't get that many for whatever reason. I will take it, but most of them are doing just fine. Set that aside for now because we're going to do another project that I need to chop some produce with. And of course the ends will not go to waste. We'll either give them to the donkeys and goats or to the chickens, and they will thoroughly enjoy them. So the mandolin that I'm using is our Mueller food processing. It's got all kinds of different attachments you put in here. brine. We're going to put our heat on medium. And we're going to add our water. Our apple cider vinegar. Our salt. Our sugar. This is a 1/4 cup measure, so I need 2 of these. For our pickling spices, I bought these reusable cheesecloth squares that you can wash and they don't unravel on you because of how they're sewn. And I need 1 teaspoon, which this one is, of the mixture. I'm gonna put it in the middle. And then you just gather your corners. And you're gonna take some twine, wrap it around and tie it loose. You don't want it to be a knot. That should be sufficient. I'm gonna go and do a bow so the strings aren't hanging down. That way it'll sit in your brine and start infusing in there, but then you can pull them out afterwards if you don't want all those spices loose in your pickles. If you want them that way, you can leave them loose in there and hang out in the jars as they're in the refrigerator, continuing to brine. So what we're gonna do is stir this and wait until it kind of simmers some and dissolves the sugar and the salt. And then we're gonna turn off the heat, pour it onto our already diced cucumbers and let it sit and brine until it's completely cooled off. Once it's completely cooled off, we're going to put the cucumbers into our jars, and I have pulled some of my grape leaves off to help with the tannins to help them stay crispy. While this is coming up to heat, I'm gonna clean up a little bit. Before I put up my sugar container, it's very low, so I'm gonna take the time to go ahead and fill it up real quick. I buy it in bulk from Azure and store it in these food safe containers. There we go. Now it's all ready for me next time that I need to bake something. All right, this is steaming nicely and I don't see any more chunks. There's a little bit of grinding on the bottom, but I think it's pretty well dissolved. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this off and pour it over our cucumber pieces. I'm gonna go ahead and transfer the spice packet over into here so that it can continue to infuse while it's brining and cooling down. And here I'm just trying to get them mostly covered so that they are soaking a little bit in the brine before we jar them up. Put these back here and let them sit and rest until they're completely cooled. While our brine is soaking our cucumbers and infusing in it, we're going to go ahead and process some tomatoes that I bought and some jalapeños and make some pico for TBK because he loves the stuff. And the cilantro is actually from our garden. Can't believe I actually still have some going with the heat. I'm gonna start by taking the stems off. I'm gonna wash the tomatoes and the peppers. I'm gonna start with my onion, and I'm actually gonna get a different knife for this, just because it has a longer blade. As you can see, this one won't go through quite so much, and then that gets me into awkward positions. So I'd rather have the longer knife for better control. Grab my baggie, Ziploc baggie of scraps and add it to the freezer. These are great for when you're gonna make broth of any kind, beef, chicken, vegetable. I do onion tops, I do carrots, celery, and potato skins. But you can also use leeks and probably fennel and all kinds of things. You can do a thick cut on this or you can do a fine dice. It really just depends on your preference. TBK doesn't mind chunky on that, so I'm gonna go a little bit thicker than I normally do. But I am still gonna slice that in half. if I was gonna do a fine dice for me, how I prefer, I'd go like this. So for him, thicker chunk. For my tomatoes, I have this handy little gadget that I use that takes out the core. It's also great for strawberries. This one has a bad spot. I'm going to cut that whole section out. You just take it and spin it, kind of scoop out the middle, and there you go. Has a deeper core, so I just kind of go back in there, scoop out a little bit more to get that stem area out. Wow, that one was, look at that. That one was, got some roots to it, man. Really glad I decided to do this. I picked up these tomatoes from my grocery pickup, and this one kind of had split. I guess it got overwatered, and if I didn't take care of this, it would be molding like the other one. So I'm so glad I did this. Take care of this one first and just slice that whole section out. And I just cut a wide cut because that hasn't spread very far, and the rest of it is perfectly fine. Now for pico, if you've never made it, it's like a salsa, but it's not cooked or anything. It's just fresh veggies, and it's typically a chunkier cut. So I'm gonna go pretty thick on that. You can of course go smaller if you'd like to. I'm just going for a nice thick chunk. Section's kind of meaty, so I'm going to pull those out. That thick vein in there, don't really like it. Wouldn't be a very good texture to chew through. So what you're looking for when you make pico de gallo, as far as ratios go, depends on your onion. If you have a really strong onion, you don't want to have a whole lot in there because it'll overpower everything else. But I did the 1 onion, which was pretty large onion, to 3 large tomatoes and 4 small tomatoes, and then 2 peppers, which were larger, including the seeds and the white beans inside, because that's all the heat. And then I did a big bunch of cilantro. You can add things like cumin if you'd like to. It's traditionally not. You do that to salsas or whatever. Salt and pepper. You can add some fresh lime juice, which I will probably do here in a little bit. But for now, this is nice. Looks like a good ratio, and hopefully the onion isn't too overpowering for them when they eat it. So I'm gonna stick this in the fridge after I cover it. And when TBK gets back in from what he's working on, he'll be able to have a nice treat. The next project we're going to tackle is the green beans and purple beans, as you see, that we have been getting out of the garden. I've already filled a gallon-sized bag with beans. Now I'm working on our second one, and we even used some for a meal the other day, flash frying them on my Blackstone with some steaks. So this is what we are working with today. I'm going to take the stem ends off and any of the long flower ends, snap them off, give those to the chickens, and freeze the rest. If the flower end is short and not wanting to break easily, I just leave it on there. It's not going to hurt anything. You can choose to split up the different types of beans if you'd like to. I'm not going to have that many of the red ones, so I'm just adding them into the green beans. I'm starting to get a bunch of the yellow wax beans, but I don't know if I'm going to wind up separating this year or not. For now, I'm just adding them all together, but if they start getting really prolific, which they're kind of starting to, I might separate them. We'll see. And I'm not canning any this year, I'm just freezing, so I don't have to worry about the different textures and how they can. I'm just going to use them to cook with. So I'm curious, what has been growing in your garden? Are you doing flowers? Are you doing veggies? Have you planted any trees? What are you doing in your homestead, in your home? Got any herbs going? How are they doing? How's the weather been treating you? I know a lot of places up north have just been getting rainstorm after rainstorm after rainstorm, and that can make it tricky. I'd love to see comments down below and hear what you're growing and what you're liking, what you aren't liking this year. Like this year I planted some daikon radishes, and they were getting eaten up by worms. I never got around to spraying them, so I just pulled them up a couple of days ago and gave those to the chickens. Live to fight another day, I guess. I can always try to grow some more in the fall. But since we're kind of picking back up this year after the crazy last year, I'm not sweating it. I'm just moving on for something that's less complicated. Same thing with the kale. The same worms were attacking the kale as they were the radishes. So the few that were left, I went ahead and pulled them at the same time. Next thing we're going to tackle is shelling some of the peas that we've gotten off of our plants. We're just going to take the stem end, and peel it down. Just take our finger through there and separate those two pod sides to reveal the peas. and let them drop down into my bag. I didn't get many germinated, so I'm just collecting what I can or doing some fresh eating. As you can see, I don't have much, but that'll go good in a dish. They're connected by these little strings, if you will, inside the pod. And you just pull them off gently and they come right off. And you can eat the pods if you want to. That's how we eat them fresh outside as well. Put them in a stir fry or something. In fact, some of my sugar snap peas are finally starting to produce, so I'll get my first couple off here in a day or two. So that's pretty exciting. I don't know how many I'll get total with the heat and everything, but I'm amazed they're still kicking. The green beans kind of crowded them out a little bit. And that's what our bag is looking like now. So I'm going to close this up and stick it in the freezer. Now that our cucumbers have cooled down, I'm going to remove our spice packet and squeeze out the juice. And I'll set this aside for now. Later I'll untie it and discard these spices and then wash this. But for now, I'm going to take one of my grape leaves, put it in the bottom of my jar, and then add a funnel, and just start adding in cucumbers. Down in the bottom are my dill sprigs, and I like to put at least one in each jar. And I'm packing them down in there a bit. Looks good there. And just take a scoop, get some of the liquid with some of the garlic bits, and top it off. And just make sure that each of your slices is submerged in the brine. And then I'll add a lid and a ring. We go. We're gonna let this sit in the refrigerator for at least 24 hours. If you were doing whole pickles, you would leave them for 48 to 72 hours so that the brine can seep in. But there we go. Let's continue on with some more. there we have it. They gave me 2 and almost 3 quarts, because I think this one's not quite a quart, worth of pickles that are going to be going. So what I'm going to do now is clean this part up, and then I'll get these over into the refrigerator. Well, there we have it. Another successful project wrapped up. My countertops are clean again. Got all the beans and the peas and the cucumbers all off of there, as well as the tomatoes and peppers. TBK enjoyed a great snack of some Pico de Gallo, and we have a clean kitchen again. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I cannot wait to hear in the comments below what you're doing in your garden and what you're growing this year. Have a blessed day. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment below. Thanks.